Are you questioning your reality? Do you feel gaslighted? It's not you. It's the media. I am Suchitra and I'll be joined by Bhakti and Madhuri Shastri to eviscerate the propaganda, set the record straight, and offer much needed moral clarity. Tune in each week. It's not you, it's the media, a podcast by the Polis Project.
Welcome to It's Not You, It's the Media. Our episode is titled, We Told You So. Okay, so that's pretty self-explanatory. Who is we, other than the three of us? Well, we're talking about the whole Democratic constituency, those very people who really want to see Democrats in power and don't want Trump, and who have been screaming themselves hoarse, trying to call out mainstream media's flaccid, unethical reporting, calling out Kamala Harris, calling out the gigantic, urgent, crucial life and death issue of genocide in Palestine. Yes, all those things are related. So who are we talking to? Well, we are talking to Kamala Harris and her absolutely messy, horrible campaign. We've all seen the effects of that. It's not even been a week. And we're also talking to the media, the liberal mainstream media that has spent all their entire 100 days campaigning for Kamala to the point of oblivion and having no sense of history, having lost all sense of what works and what doesn't, and tripping over themselves, trying to support a candidate and refusing to call out the very evident problems in the campaign. Suchitra, did you think she was going to lose?
Yes, of course I thought she was going to lose. And we've been saying this from the beginning. We've been saying this since Biden was running. We were saying that the Democrats have been deeply, deeply problematic. We've been screaming to them, telling them you're not listening to us. We've been telling them there's an ongoing genocide, that we want a ceasefire, we want an arms embargo. I think more importantly, I think we just wanted an opportunity to have a Democratic nominee that we liked. And I think for me, one of the biggest takeaways, and something that many people are not discussing, is the fact that Democratic voters were denied the right to choose the nominee that we wanted. We could have had a primary. We could have settled on somebody that we trusted, somebody we could all go behind. The primary would have given us an opportunity to push our candidates towards things and ideas that we wanted. A primary would have helped us think through ways in which we want to speak about Palestine, and a primary that would have actually asked our candidates what their policy positions on legislating Roe versus Wade is. How are we going to do this? And we got none of that. What we got was a president unwilling to put the nation above his own mediocrity, and followed by a presidential nominee that had 100 days to run with no policy, with no purpose. I mean, she had Brad Summer, but that's it. And I think
Brad Summer was followed by an epic Brad fall. I can tell you that.
You know what? Look, we're laughing, but we're not laughing because we love Donald Trump or something. That's not it. It's just everything was right before everybody's eyes.
Yeah.
And yet here we are. It is absolutely absurd.
I just wanted to say that the Democrats have always been so poor at listening to their base.
Yes.
The Republicans listen to their base.
Yes.
You want Tea Party, we will move Tea Party. You want us to be less unhinged, we will be less unhinged. Like, Trump is now the hero of the working class, multiracial, multi-ethnic coalition. Like, how did we end up in this bullshit?
We ended up in this bullshit because I think it happened when the nomination was stolen from Bernie. Bernie was outperforming Trump in 2020. And it's just was evident that the issues that the Republicans were identifying and making into massive boogeyman issues, the economy and immigration, the Democrats have not offered any solutions to them other than basically parroting Trump's policies or going after and reestablishing Trump's policies. Whereas for immigration, for example, Bernie would say, well, the problem is not the immigrants. The problem is the billionaires. The problem is that you feel that immigrants are taking jobs from you, but it's actually the billionaires. And he would offer legitimate solutions that spoke to the working class. Whereas all the Dems do is regurgitate Trump's policies and do a bad job of it. So then if people are worried about immigration and the Dems are not able to disabuse them of this worry, obviously they are going to pick people who have a hard line solution for it. Like, yes, you're the ones closing the borders to keep the people out. We're going to go for that rather than whatever mealy mouth thing Trump was doing. That is why Bernie was able to appeal to them so much. I really feel this loss was cemented the minute Bernie's candidacy was robbed from him.
Yeah, well, we told you so, right? That's what we're trying to say here. And the other thing that I'm realizing is that within hours, you both did the fabulous live stream coverage. And you know that as the news started coming in and it started to become clear that the states were flipping for Trump, you saw how the liberal media began to react. The shock, the despair, the anger. I think someone even cried, right? I think that right there was the kind of precise marker of how deluded everybody was.
I also don't know if the delusion is self induced or this is just some kind of a permanent state of exile. Because poll after poll told the Democrats and their base that this is not winning. But for me, I think what was really jarring was how the elite liberal media, I know I'm sounding like a Trump supporter now, but the truth is that the elite liberal media absolutely seceded from reality. They should not be the ones being surprised. You have reporters on the ground, you have multi-million dollar budgets to report on this. And yet, why are you caught with your pants down? The fact that they did not see what was coming is, I think, one thing. And I think second thing is I think the liberal media has lost the zeitgeist. I remember the years of the Bush presidency where Jon Stewart and Colbert Report, all of this had they had a pulse on their base. They no longer do. Sadly, it is shows like Joe Rogan that actually has the pulse. You don't have to agree with them. I don't agree or even like any of these podcasters or YouTubers or influencers, but they have a pulse on the community that they're appealing to. Trump went on Joe Rogan. The last presidential nominee to go on Joe Rogan and actually have hash out a conversation was Bernie Sanders. So, who do you think are your cultural icons who understand the zeitgeist? The liberals do not understand the zeitgeist. They have lost it, they have sold it, and just listening to people like God Save America, Seth Meyers, Jon Stewart, Jimmy Kimmel, all of them. I think some of course are infinitely better than others, but just you can see their surprise. How are you
No,
surprised?
they are absolute fixtures. And speaking like somebody who grew up in India, I mean, they are like those uncles who come by in the evening for tea, like from the neighborhood or whatever. And it's like you're fond of them, they're super sweet, sometimes they make fun jokes, but like totally out of touch with what's actually occurring, right? And beholden to a set of values that do not matter anymore. And primarily the thing that I think they're out of touch with is young people. If every single person on TV, every syndicated podcast, every possible entertainment empire is built by people in their late 40s, 50s, and 60s who is white and male or thinking like white and male, then what are we going to get? We're going to get a whole set of people out of touch with reality, out of touch with young people. And I really, really believe that this was one of the biggest issues of this particular election. And what were we saying? We were saying, stop it with the memes, stop it with the celebrities. It does not have substance. The first episode we did of our podcast, that's the first thing we said. What is this? You can't take random concepts, perform them, and pretend that that's it. Oh, war is super sad. Let's take the focus away from war. Oh, unemployment is super sad. Let's take the focus away. Migration, it's a huge issue. Environment, climate change, it's a huge issue, but let's take the focus away. Let's pretend that by talking about joy, we're actually bringing joy. I mean, we're not. It's just, it makes absolutely no sense. So, to me, this is where we really lost younger people. As you know, the younger people are all on the TikTok and the Snapchat and all those various things. And I'm not saying that the three of us are sitting there and we know exactly what the young people are thinking, but the alienation, people could observe something was off.
Actually, I just wanted to say one thing about Suchitra's point about Joe Rogan and Bernie. Bernie was actually endorsed by Joe Rogan at that time. That's how important it was that Bernie went on that on his podcast. And the other thing I wanted to say to your point, Bhakti, about yes, we don't know what the young people want. I mean, the point is that you have to listen to them. They are your electorate. These are people from whom you want to earn votes. To your point about refocusing the issue away, they were also doing it with this dismissal, right from Kamala saying, I'm speaking and shutting up, anti war genocide protesters, to her basically infantilizing Gen Z as a population, to her being so out of touch with people, not even bothering to go on the to make a spit stop on her campaign trail to go and pay some attention to hurricane victims, to sending Bill Clinton and Richie Torres, of all the people, to campaign in Michigan, where she lost enormously. She was just completely out of touch and dismissing her voter base. So, what did that result in? People not turning out to vote for her. This entire aspect of scolding her voter base, telling them Trump is going to be so much worse for you, Trump is going to be so much worse for you. The people who are vehemently anti Trump, she already had on her side. She didn't need to win them over. So she never tried to appeal to any of the people to whom she had to actually appeal. And so it is not only to me this complete refocusing of the conversation, but the derisiveness with which it happened, the dismissal with which it happened, that was really kind of disgusting, actually, and humiliating. And for her, because what happens now, she is going to probably lose the popular vote, which is unheard of for the past 20 years. And the low voter turnout has shown that people would have rather stayed at home than come and vote for her. And this is also another thing that we have been saying. No one is going to show up if you treat them like this. And then you have the liberal media pontificating. Americans are so stupid. We're so racist. We're so horrible. We are just like this. It's like, no, listen to what people are saying. You cannot constantly just be like, well, the economy is a problem. But let me just tell you, statistically, there is no inflation for the past 2 years. There might not be an inflation for the past 2 years. There might be growth for growth's sake. But if your working class American is not feeling that, you need to go and explain to them how things are better for them. You cannot keep saying you presided over a good economy, yada, yada, yada. People's lives suck and they are difficult, and people are worried and people are scared, and you are unable to address them. You dismiss them. You treat them like you are ridiculous. And then you have the liberal media coming out and telling people that these Americans are stupid. Literally, there are op eds in The Guardian, really bad one by Rebecca Solnit, I read, and repeated conversations about how stupid these Americans are.
I mean, they have just run on this idea, right? Donald Trump is stupid. He's an evil man. He's a bad guy. He has a bully's temperament. He's stupid. And you know what? It's like, it's enough. Throw in the towel. This person is able to manipulate every fact and sell it straight. Try to analyze what's working there and what's not working for you. It's as simple as that, right? What does Trump do? He manages to make it seem as if the Democrats did not have a good economy. He keeps on pandering to this particular idea and making it seem as if he's going to bring some revolution that we all know is not going to come. But what is it? Why it's not enough to dismiss what he's saying. It's also important to study and think historically what works and what doesn't. Why an allergy to history? Why an allergy to listening? Why an allergy to actually dive into cold hard facts and just think a little bit as to how this campaign should be shaped? The other thing is, of course, running the campaign to appeal only to conservative voters. And did that work? Of course not. The same people came out and voted for Trump, and the ones that would have voted for Harris did not come out for her. This is just so depressing at the end of the day. We told you so. It was easy.
I think it's important for us to remember that 13 million people who voted for Biden did not turn up for Harris. And I think that is something that you have to reckon with. And I think there's also a clip where Hillary Clinton was saying that, oh, how she was helping train Kamala Harris win, or she's advising her. I'm like, woman, why? But I want to go back to Madhuri's point about chiding your voter base. And I think the person who really did that and helped Trump win was Obama. The number of times Obama went on a podium and told black men, just the way he emasculated them, the way he just kept telling them how these brothers have to step up. If you don't vote for Kamala, like it's racism if you don't vote for Harris. I know people are not talking about this, and I think just as Clinton lost votes for Harris in Michigan, telling Arabs that they deserve to die, I think Obama is no longer appealing to a generation that doesn't see him as hopeful or even a visionary president. This is a generation that sees him as a droner in chief. And I think another thing that the Harris campaign did, I don't know if it's still up on the website, is it very clearly brought together. It used to say in Harris's campaign website that they linked paths to citizenship to border security, which is so problematic, but it's right wing talking points. If I want a Republican, I will go vote and elect a Republican. Why are you doing Republicans their job? Why are you putting together pathway to citizenship and or like fixing the citizenship issue with a safer border? They're not connected. How are they connected?
Yeah, I mean, why would you pick like the milk toast Republican when you could pick the full on Republican? I've never
That's what I
understood.
remember Prem Tucker's tweet where he said, "Why would you choose a diet Republican when you can have the real thing?" Something like that.
We said this in the first episode again of this podcast. This is what I said, like this idea that she has to appeal to the center or run as a conservative to win over moderate voters is a complete fallacy, because there are not the Democrats who didn't come out to vote. I mean, I'm willing to bet that a lot of them didn't really want to come out and vote for conservative. And those who wanted to vote for conservative went and voted for a conservative.
The genocidal joy.
Yeah, and also the chiding was just disgusting in that respect, right? Like, how dare you give a shit about genocide? But I want to say that Harris has received only 5% of the Republican votes after desperately trying to run as a Republican. Joe Biden won 6% in 2020. Kamala has only received 5%. Hillary Clinton in 2016, when she lost to Trump, won 7% of the Republican vote. So this is a flawed, wrong strategy. And the reason Obama won, I could be wrong here, but with the largest mandate that a Democrat has had recently, his first term, was because he ran pretty much on a progressive platform. So it is absolutely ridiculous that Democrats think that running to the center or as a conservative, campaigning with Liz Cheney, is going to win them any Democrat votes. Ruby Hamada said this in her column for us. Again, she told you so, that every time these Democrats have won, they have won on the backs of progressives. And all the progressive Democrats, from Rashida Tlaib to Ilhan Omar, have all won there. They've all won again. So that's another thing with the whole misogyny, like, oh, it's misogyny. You can never have a woman. You can never have a black woman. Well, look at all these progressive women of color winning resoundingly. Like, come on. You put up a candidate who everybody could see through. And again, I'm obviously not a Trump fan, but Trump called it several times. He called it. There was this incredible clip going around of him basically saying, why would any Muslim vote for Kamala Harris when she's campaigning with Liz Cheney, whose father has probably killed 1 million Arabs or more than any? So, and this is the truth. Like, why would you? Even if he is a broken clock, he is right 2 times, and anybody who can see that can be like, well, yes, this actually makes sense. And at no point of time is Kamala Harris making sense.
What you're saying, it reminds me the extent to which they are always looking down on everybody, and they're elitist in the worst possible way. Every election proves us again and again that the people are not stupid. It's as simple. They don't think about age. Biden won resoundingly, whatever his age was. He never made sense then. Started to make even less sense, but he didn't make any sense then. Okay, I understand we were coming out of COVID and all that stuff, but there was nothing about Biden. But people voted for him. Hillary Clinton, whatever she was, she got the popular vote. People who decide to vote make those decisions, and they make them with all their minds in it. The Democrat notion that people are stupid, and if we feed them some sound bites, if we feed them some fun memes, if we say joy, joy, if we have Taylor Swift and Beyonce prance around on the stage, and that is enough, it is never enough. It is never enough. And again, we said that long time ago.
And why do you think Obama was such a disappointment? Like, why do you think that the Democrat voter base, that the electorate has felt disillusioned by Obama? It is because he ran on progressive ideals and then sort of capitulated to madly to the center. Why do you think people are so, well, AOC won again, but why do you think people are so disillusioned with AOC? Why do you think people are so disillusioned? It is because the Democrats win on the backs of progressives and then abdicate all their ideals and run to the center to become Republican lights and defang the progressives. And now, sorry, AOC, you're up for 4 more years of resistance nonsense or whatever you called it. So get up and do your job. To your point about sound bites, I also wanted to say the people that she was choosing to campaign with, the message that sent. I also learned recently that she spent more time campaigning with Liz Cheney than she did with Sean Fain, who is the head of the United Auto Workers Union. And that really says something to you about what she thinks about the American working class.
I mean, look, I'm disappointed in Bernie that he didn't call them out throughout. That he threw in his lot and he said vote for them. He does what he's supposed to. He is what he is, and he kind of straddles this establishment, anti-establishment stuff. And I feel sympathetic to him almost always. I just am fond of him. Period. And him warning them about the working class, losing working class votes. I mean, this is a real thing. You just cannot behave like that.
No, of course you can't behave like that, but Democrats do. And I think another thing that we need to do is understand Obama not only won on the backs of progressives, he also built one of the most successful grassroots mobilizing war machine that won in the wars. The moment he wins, what he does is he dismantles all of them. If the Democrats had held on to that war machine of grassroots organizing, I know I'm using this weird language of war machine and Democrats, but really that's what it was. He had built a successful system that really tapped into grassroots mobilizing, built an infrastructure around it, and that's what won him his first presidency. And immediately after winning his presidency, he dismantles all of it, which means that immediately he loses the House and really again becomes a president with very little power to do the kind of things he wants to do or he wanted to do. And again, why? Because I think we have to go back to the billionaire class. The Democrats are wedded to the billionaire class. Obama comes to power, and it was Citibank officials deciding who's going to be in what cabinet position. We know the immense power that the billionaire class and the moneyed packs have in our politics. And Obama is no different. 83 billionaires supported Harris, giving her up to, I think, if I'm not mistaken, like almost 1.6 billion in total. Can you imagine 1.6 billion to
Where
for
is
just
it? What
Imagine
did
this
they do?
loss, this resounding, thumping loss, losing the popular vote with that much money behind you. I mean,
Yeah, there's the lack of dignity of that is really something
yeah.
else.
I mean, but
It's
even
something
the
else. We
billionaires,
all crib about the electoral college system and all that, but this is just like,
yeah. I mean, you can't even blame the electoral college, right? Like, I think the liberals would have gone
or Jill's time. It's
or
like
just
again,
who had a record low votes compared to the last 4 years. Depressing as it is, even though I think she was slated to have this, it just shows how little people turned up. Again and again, it points to that. And people have gone mad on social media being like, where are the 15 million? There is corruption, there is rigging, there is this and that. Listen, people didn't show up because the same amount, as of now, it's not even been a week as we record this, as of now, Trump has the same amount of popular votes as he did in 2020. It may go up a little bit, but at the moment it's the same amount. He didn't move the needle. He won the same amount of votes as he did the last time. And guess who didn't win the same amount of vote? The gap is on Kamala's side. The gap is on the Democrat side. And this is depressing. And I just want to come back to talk about, of course, war in Palestine. I know there are many theories out there. There's not enough of a Muslim constituency to impact the change. There is not enough coverage of the war for people to really be thinking about it. But I am sorry. I do think that the genocide in Palestine, the non-stop news of war, does have an impact, even if the impact is very underlying. People know something is going on. People know their government is doing something. They may not be like us, checking every single day what's going on. The truth is, according to the Lancet report, At least we are looking at a projected 200,000 dead in Palestine. We are currently looking at 20,000 children brutally dead, with the average age is 5 years old of these little kids. We are looking at carpet bombing of Lebanon any day of this week. If you go for Lebanese news, carpet bombing, 37 towns gone, villages and towns. We're looking at Roman ruins, archaeological, extraordinary archaeological sites about to be destroyed or most of it destroyed. And even if people are not in touch with this news on a daily basis, if the American electorate is as unaware as it claims to be, the truth is it seeps in the fact that something very violent is happening, and it does impact the mood. And saying joy, joy, joy does not change that mood. You can't alter the mood. If someone just looks up raw data of what's going on, we actually have just something extraordinary taking place, whether you like it or not. That has been a huge factor in this, and we told you so. Talk to the people in Michigan, talk to Muslim voters, and as I said on Twitter, and I hate saying it, make some false promises. My God, isn't that what politicians do from whatever, from day one? At least say you will care, that you are sad about this. Do not follow up I'm sad about the suffering in Palestine with we must bring the hostages back and Israel has the right for self defense. And what has happened? Netanyahu has sent the humiliating congratulations to Trump. 1 year you've been killing people with these 2,000-ton nuclear style bombs. 1 year. What? To have Netanyahu approve your enemy? This is ridiculous.
I also wanted to say that not only would they carpet bomb in the next sentence, be like, oh, this is so sad, Palestinians have the right to self determination. In the next sentence, they would approve historically large arms deals to Israel. So they were just arming them to the teeth. And I think that there is this fiscal aspect to this, right? The economic aspect to it, which even if a lot of people, let's say, a lot of people don't necessarily I have bought in to the dehumanization of the Palestinians, of Muslims, of Arabs, and think, okay, yes, they don't deserve to live. There are still people who understand how many billions of dollars are going to Israel that could have been spent on making conditions better over here. They are war tired fiscally because then you have these arms deals and then you have people dying and you have Kamala telling you everything is okay, and sometimes you have actually had Trump campaigning being like, we don't really want to spend that kind of money on war anymore. We kind of want to spend that money back here. So it's just the other side of the war narrative that even people who would have bought into the dehumanization are probably like, just stop spending all this money over there. Enough is enough. You know that Kardashians meme, there are people dying or whatever, Kim? There are literally people dying here. Stop it. There are people who are dying. So there is this whole idea that yes, the war has pervaded the every aspect of this narrative and every aspect of perception. Also, I'm not going to repeat this, but going back to the sort of dismissal and the brutalization of students, the violent suppression of student protests. There are people who, again, might be quite liberal about what's happening. I mean, politically liberal about what is happening in Palestine, but viewing all those things, that type of brutal violence happening to their children, whatever, like you need to be able to identify with it, right? So whatever, your children, your daughter's friend, whatever, that kind of thing also makes a big difference.
Absolutely. In fact, I will add that one of the more powerful moments in Kamala Harris's convention acceptance speech was when she talked about her friend who was being abused, and then she came to their home and all this kind of stuff. And they lost that type of anecdote telling that American presidents are always using. They lost that type of speech making where you reach out and you relate. And, so what you said reminded me of that. And a very quick point about the Palestine thing is that where does liberal mainstream media get all its information, right? We have no journalists on the ground in Gaza. There are no journalists on the ground from liberal mainstream media in Lebanon. They're simply not reporting on this stuff. So they're getting the information. A lot of it is from Twitter. A lot of it is from TikTok. A lot of it is from Instagram. So they get the information and then they filter the narrative and they filter out the radical pro-Palestinian parts. They mash on the Israeli PR memos that are just, man, they're whirring at top speed. And this is how they produce the news. But the truth is, if you want to understand what's going on, what's impacting people, then take social media seriously too. Why not? Why alienate the youth so much? We told you, take this stuff seriously, take the war stuff seriously. It is real, man.
I think there are a lot of people who are not vocal, who are also maybe the genocide in Palestine is not an issue for them, but I think it does affect you. I know mothers that I speak to who don't give a squat about Palestine, who are worried about reproductive health, who are asking questions about, what about this, what about that? Even they are like, yeah. But the moment you say, look, I don't care, Israel exists, and Palestinians now have a right to live and live with dignity. And a lot of people say, yes, we understand that the dead babies is not okay. Maybe it's not an issue that is directly going to change them, but it as Bhakti says, it pervades your sense. And there are also lots of understand that there are a lot of people who will now no longer work with Israelis. Let's put this out. Maybe
Absolutely.
they will not say it publicly. Some of us have publicly said we will not work with Israeli institutions. Some of us are part of PACBI. Some of us have always been part of PACBI. Some of us have part of the cultural boycott, are vocal about it. I'm not talking about the literary world. I'm not talking about, there are people across technology and business who will now just quietly just not work with Israelis, not because of anything else, because it's just, you just don't know. It's self-preservation. We've just have seen videos come out of Amsterdam from a football match where Israeli fans were initially chanting death to Arabs. There are no schools in Gaza because all the children are dead. What do you think is going to happen if you do this? Why would anybody in their right mind want to be around you? I teach. And for me, as a professor, someone who goes into university campuses every semester now, I am exhausted, but I'm afraid. I don't know what I would do if a former IOF soldier walks into my class. I do not want to be around a war criminal. I do not want to be around someone who committed a
They
genocide.
all have their hands ready now because everybody has to serve.
I think one of the things you have to understand is that, yes, Kamala Harris had only 100 days of campaigning. She could have still simply said that I am a different candidate, that these are my views. I am not a Biden presidency. And she never did. She had multiple opportunities to. She never did. If anything, she said that she was in those rooms when those decisions were made, which really puts us in a place where I can tell you I told you so, but also we told you so is not so much as a hand wanging saying, listen, you didn't listen to us. It's also saying that you've squarely put us in a Trump presidency
Right.
that is going to be so devastating for brown, black, and working class communities.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
People who did their bullshit are going to walk away into their privileged bubble. It's the very people who you chided, you
Correct.
talked down to, and did not take their opinions who are again on the front lines. Even if not on the front lines, are going to be the communities that are going to be affected the most. Yes, we told you so, but also we are in a Trump presidency. So what more could we have told you?